100 Years Enterprise. Here we are again on a beautiful day, sunny to be exact. My name is Fahim.
I'm Dante.
I'm Patrick.
100 Years Enterprise, we steer youth for making early death decisions. We use our learned and lived experiences. Just to show the people what it's about, what acclimation is about. And so before we go into our next guest, Patrick and Dante and Patrick, they'll briefly speak on what acclimation means to them in being with 100 Years Enterprise.
Well, what acclimation mean to me? It's a beautiful thing, first of all. I just think about the day I came home, right? From doing 29 and a half years. And in my mind, I felt that I had it together, right? And it was going to be easy. And in a way, it was easy. But now when I look back, right, and I see where I'm at today, it was a struggle, but it was a good struggle because of where we at as a unit.
Absolutely.
You know, so it's a beautiful thing to be where we at right now.
That was a good question, man. I can say this much, right? The value that I thought I had myself, right? When I thought I had it all together. Just by them giving me a release date, I was like, man, now I'm finally getting ready to get out and make something happen. But when I got out, it was like, okay, now the acclimation period. I ain't even got an ID. So I just want to thank God that, you know, I had brothers like yourself that really, when I got out the gate, you know, was there for me. So that process helped me identify some cues that y'all already had been a part of, because y'all downloaded me too in regards to, I know you kind of tripping, this, that, and that. I felt it wasn't so much, I know you tripping because you out and I ain't never been in jail, but I see you tripping. It was like, man, you going through the same little shake, little stutter, hunching your shoulders back like I did, man, just lean back, go into it, this, that, and other. So through those cues, it helped me be able to identify what it's really going to take. And then in that process, I found my calling. I knew that I was going to do this work, but I didn't know to what extent. I didn't have no identity of what it will be. But now I got out and, you know, formulated just 100 years, man. It's just like my life, my calling, my purpose. There's so many things that tied in my religion because, you know, for me, I could have faith. I come out of prayer and I know this is what I'm supposed to be doing.
Absolutely.
So it's tied in like that.
That's key. And I ask a question because oftentimes we have to give ourselves the reminder and reflect on how far we have come. And prior to coming from prison, a life of incarceration, to this side of the prison wall of the new world, when we talk about acclimation, one has to really understand what's next. What's next. What do I have to do in order to survive, in order to be a better man, a man of reasoning, a man of understanding, a man of purpose, and to see a call and to have a vision and say, I'm going to answer the call. And only through the mercy and grace of God that, you know, we were able to do it. And today, we have a beautiful brother on here, come from similar backgrounds that we all have. Patrick Hamza, you know this young man. You all go way back. So could you please introduce him?
I sure will. Lavell Stewart, from North Oakland, Bushrod Park. Grew up in the same neighborhood I grew up from. Just got out. How long has it been? About
not even 150 days. I got out October 24th of last year.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
I knew he was coming. I was instrumental in regards to just him getting at me, talking to me from time to time about what it'll be like when he get out and, you know, support letters and all these things. And I understood that, me being his big brother, I don't say that lightly, you know what I mean? I got a year or two on him, but I knew that I had to be an example for him in regards to helping him the same way you asked about the aspect of acclimation out here. So he's going through his process now. And I've been in his ear, and I'm quite sure he's going to be in somebody else's ear after he get to proper footing than he is. So, yeah, Lavell Stewart, man,
Thank you.
know, nice to have you here, man.
Thank you.
Tell us about you, man.
I was raised in the Bay Area, also raised in Pasadena, California, by way of crack cocaine. Crack cocaine is the reason why I was raised in two areas. At this particular time in my life, my mother had grown addicted to crack cocaine, and all you guys is familiar with what crack did to our communities back in the late 80s and early 90s. So being a young black male at that particular time in Oakland without a voice, I was basically told to do as I do, not as I do. So my mother sent me to Pasadena to stay with my father because she had grown addicted to crack. And in that process, people always ask me, where did the fork in the road actually start? And on that Greyhound bus with me, my mother, and my sister, headed from Oakland to Pasadena, that was the beginning, and I would say of the end of my normalcy as a young adolescent, because once I got to Southern California, I grew up extremely fast.
What year was that?
That was 1984. 83. 83 when that happened.
So you was 11.
No, I was 12. And so when I got down there, I was in the 6th grade. Now, mind you, I'm talking to 3 black men, so y'all can definitely relate to what I'm saying. But in the black community at this particular time, there was still a level of respect between mothers and fathers. So all of your mothers and fathers could have got in my tail and took me home and told my mother and father, and I would have got my behind whooped again. Exactly. So that level of respect was still available in our neighborhood. So when I got sent to Pasadena, there was no questioning why I was there or anything like that. It was basically, you down here, do what you do. But I think the defining moment of me going to Pasadena was my father had gave my mother misinformation about his living conditions. So when she got down there, there was a Animal House-like environment going on at my father's house. It was just chaotic. And when my mother saw this, she left and went and stayed with my grandmother on 59th and Crenshaw. So now she's in Los Angeles with my sister. I'm in Pasadena with my father. So my defining moment came when one day I wanted to go see my sister and my mother. And I told my father, hey, could you take me to L.A. so I could go see my sister and my mother? And this is when I found out that they had went back to Oakland. So that level of abandonment, that was the first time I ever experienced abandonment on that level. And as I spoke earlier, not being able to articulate myself and ask my mother, hey, why you leave me down here and we all came together? It was something that I had to internalize. And then as you guys also know, we were taught we don't show emotion as young men. So crying, venting, lashing out verbally was something that I didn't do in the household. So I took my aggression out at the schools. I took my aggression out on the street. I took my aggression out to anybody who wasn't my mother or my father, crying out for that help. And so I went through that for about 5 or 6 years until crack would succumb my father. Only thing with him was he took the coward way out. He didn't tell nobody he was going through this like my mother did a few years earlier. So my mother drove all the way from Oakland to pick me up. So mind you, when I got back home, I was seeing the very same actions displayed that took me away from this environment in the first place. And now I was back, but this time I was older. I was angrier.
I got a quick question.
Yeah.
You said something about your mom. She took action. She took action to come save her son, per se?
To an extent that she felt like she needed to come down there and get me, because when I called her in duress, letting her know my father has been nowhere to be found in the last 2 weeks. I have no clue where this man is. So when she came down there, it was a big old 5-bedroom house, 3 or 4 cars in the driveway, but my father was nowhere to be seen.
So that was another abandonment issue that you had to deal with too,
Right. And then compounding on that, while she was on her way down there, my grandfather, may he rest in peace, my father's father, and his brother-in-law drove all the way across country from South Bend, Indiana, to come look for my father because they had got wind that he had absconded too. So when they came out there, their first question to me was, "Have you seen your father?" And then they left. And I'm saying to myself, what about me? What about me though?
Damn.
You know what I mean? So I felt a second level of abandonment.
And how old was you at that time?
At this time, I'm 16, almost 17.
Okay.
So when I came back to Oakland, I came back extremely angry.
Your mind's starting to shake. Your identity's taking place now, 16.
Exactly. So I came back into Oakland at the height of the epidemic of the crack epidemic. And I jumped in full-fledged.
Sure did.
And through anger, rage, bitterness, I took it out on everybody. My mother was a victim of it, verbally. She was still on drugs, so I had a level of disrespect for her, disregard for her, for how she was going about herself, because in her mind, she was a functioning addict and nobody could tell her nothing because she was still going to work. But that was internalized and infected me dramatically, and I didn't know how to express that. So that part just fueled a whole nother rage, and I took that rage out on my first son's mother, verbally, physically, emotionally, doing all the things like that a person is not supposed to do to another human being. I took ratchet out on her. And so I built up that, as long as being in the streets, building up this so-called persona of who I thought I was going to be, who I wanted to be. At the same time, just wilding.
Question. We're
Yes.
dealing with the topic of consequences of street life, right? As you came back from L.A. and you was in Oakland, right, and you seen all the things dealing with, what led you to, based on what you said, I know you understand what you said about articulating what you're going through with moms and whatnot. What was your position? What was clear to you what you had to do? Because we leading up to the consequences of street life, right? What led us down a path that caused us to be in a situation for long-term incarceration.
Okay, for those of us who have been incarcerated and have done the necessary classes and things to get out, you would be familiar with a term that's used that is thrown around throughout all the courses of the classes that we use is external, internal. External triggers, internal triggers. So with my mother going through what she was going through, her not knowing what she was doing, she was aiding and abetting in my demise. She was unable to afford school clothes and things of that nature. But I had family members in my immediate family who sold drugs. So my means of survival was to sell drugs. So at 16, 17 years old, at my kitchen table, my mother showed me how to cook cocaine, cut cocaine, package cocaine, and sell cocaine. I learned all of that, as well as how to blend, package, and sell heroin. All at my kitchen table. I didn't have to go to the streets like a lot of people did. I learned all of this right there. So when a person asked me at what level of dysfunction did I experience in my household, I experienced learning how to cook and sell drugs in my mother's household, and I experienced learning how to break down and put guns together in my father's house, to rob people, to connive and verbally manipulate people to do what I wanted them to do in my father's house. That's what I did, because my father, up until his addiction, worked at McDonald's Douglas. That's a company that makes a commercial parts for different jets and things of that nature, as well as fighter jets in the military. So he was making a nice end, but where the dysfunction came in, that was my father went to work when I got home from school. And when I woke up to go to school, he was coming home to go to sleep. So the only time that I ever saw this man was Saturday and Sunday. But his level of parenting was, as long as I'm providing a house, something for you to wear, and food in your belly, I'm doing my job, alleviating all the other aspects of what it takes to raise a father. Is just, at the end of the day, what I was told by my 3 sons when I went to prison for 29 years is time. Time was the main thing that my father couldn't give me, but at that time, I thought it was cool that he wasn't around. I didn't have to deal with it. I had a house to myself, and I can do all of this.
Most definitely.
So then fast forward, when I come to Oakland, my mother is now in catering mode. She wants to give me whatever she possibly can. So she allowed me to stay at her house with my then girlfriend, who later became my son's mother. She aided and abetted in all of this. And no knock on moms. I love her to death. But when I look back at where things went wrong for me and why I became the person that I became, I had a lot of aiding and abettors in my life that kind of edged on this criminal thinking, this criminal activity, this way of life. And because I was involved directly in that circle, I didn't look at it as being wrong. It became a way of life.
Exactly.
It was what I was doing.
Criminal
It wasn't
lifestyle.
until I started to deal with different people and talk to them to understand the method of lifestyle that I was living was wrong. But how can you ever say it's wrong when you're in the neighborhood and everywhere you go, this is all you see?
Exactly.
Everybody mama on bro. Everybody daddy
So
hustling.
how is that wrong?
So how is it wrong?
Exactly. So let me ask you this, right?
Yes, sir.
So when you was doing all that, right? Thinking like a criminal, acting like a criminal, and engaging in criminal activities, did you ever think about the consequences, where it might lead you to if you got busted?
Negative. It was instilled in me that we don't do no talking. I learned that at the kitchen table long before I ever saw a drug, a gun, or anything. It was telling on my baby sister. My mom instilled to me that we don't do no talking. My mother is a former Black Panther, so you can imagine the level of resistance and anger that she had for authority in terms of somebody telling her what to do and how to do it. She was that type of woman. A double cancer survivor, lung and breast, that allowed me to get to where I am today sitting here with y'all. So the despite that I had for her as a child later became triumph as an adult because I saw what she went through. Like, you battled 2 bouts of cancer, lung and breast, and you still here?
Yeah, it's a blessing. It's a blessing.
Like, lady, for real? Like, I can't be sitting in no penitentiary complaining about not getting no mail or a package not getting sent to me, or the police ain't letting me out for yard, and you going to work every day and then going downstairs to the same place you work at and going to have 4 hours of chemo and then going home and getting up and doing it again? So when I see that, it's like, I don't ponder on my childhood, but I tell my childhood stories because I know there's so many babies out here going through the same cycle.
Exactly.
They're going through the same thing, so they need to hear it to know that they ain't the only people going through these type of situations. I've been there. I know what it's like. I know that smell. It's a fucked up smell when you walk in the house and you waiting to smell something to eat and all you smell is dope or burning matches. You know what I mean? It's certain songs that I hear nowadays that trigger me that I don't like them songs only because of what I knew what was going on in my household at that time. Beautiful songs. Right. But because of at that particular time of when they was being played, I can't stand them songs.
This is what was going on. So let me ask you this, right?
Yes, sir.
Well, that's really not a question. It's this is what we missing today. It's what we was missing back then. The intervention, the mentorship. Because I didn't get that. And I'm quite sure none of us got that. That's what led us to do some of the things that we did that allowed us to be in prison, or allowed us to kill somebody, to hurt somebody, to put people through pain. Because didn't nobody tell us, man, Dante or Lavell or Fahim or Patrick, man, don't be selling dope. You know, you good at this? Man, push that. Now, I think if we would have had that positive intervention in our life,
reinforcement,
we probably would have been in a different direction.
Absolutely.
Swimmer, good baseball, motorcycle rider, whatever that you was good in. But we didn't have that.
Right.
And that's what we need today.
Right.
Brothers like us. getting out the pen and doing what we're supposed to do, intervene in these kids' life
Right.
and give it to them because we went through it.
Yeah.
And we know what we was missing in our communities. So this is what this is about.
Real talk. You know,
Yeah.
you talk about the cycle of violence. Mm-hmm. You talk about the internal, the external, the triggers. You talk about how we get into the street life. Many people had to start this petty crimes, the stealing, the bicycle robbing, to get here.
Right.
Wow, Vil. I can say wow. Because you didn't have to jump over anything because you woke up, it was inside both houses.
Right.
That's tough. I'm going to Pop's house. McDonnell Douglas. They build military machines there.
Right.
Mom's house. They got the military where it dropped off in the community. Your addiction started in the house.
Right.
You didn't have to build up to no addiction. That's the difference. When did you understand that it was an addiction?
Truly, when I got to prison, that was my reality, because when I caused my case, and I say cause, some people use the term catch. You don't catch a case; you cause an event.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? My impulsive behavior led me to prison. It was a quick-tempered decision. It was a bravado decision. You don't do me like this, and I justified my decision, and that's how I functioned in prison. Mm-hmm. I was able to stay sane because I justified why I was there. Mm-hmm. Truly, it was morally wrong that I left a scene, came back and shot a man 4 times, twice in the face and twice in the heart. Was never supposed to do that. Regardless of what this man was involved in on the street, I didn't have the right to do that. But I chose to, with this irrational understanding that if you take something from me, and because we don't deal with authority, my only means of handling what I'm supposed to do is to hurt you. And if I don't hurt you, then I will eventually be robbed again or eventually killed for whatever I got.
And that behavior was learned where?
That behavior was learned at the kitchen table.
And that's a cycle of violence. So Patrick talked about breaking up.
I got to ask him this. I love him to death. That was just phenomenal. But I got to ask you this because it's a healing phase of this,
Yes.
right? What would you tell a young man at the age that you was exposed to because that shaped and made your criminal thinking.
Right.
That gave you that. That gave you fed that. You ate. You swallowed that.
Right.
You woke up, ate that for breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Right.
Right. So that became you. So when you know, by you knowing this, right, and you went through the process, what you probably still, God got you still here. What would you tell a young man or young men that went through that same cycle at the stage they're at 11, 10, 12, 13, 14 years old? What would you tell them?
It's funny that you say that because right now I work in the Richmond School District under a nonprofit called Peacemakers, where I work with 9, 10, and 11 and 12-year-old young boys and girls in the Richmond area that are going through.
Real quick.
Yes.
What's the name of the school?
Lincoln Elementary.
And where is Lincoln?
Right there on 6th and McDonald.
Ooh, Iron Triangle.
Yes.
All right.
And I'm seeing a reflection of myself in them. I'm been there a couple of months now, so I'm getting a rapport to where they're actually willing to sit down and tell me about things that are going on with them. So I laugh at God all the time for even bringing this level of grief and misunderstanding in my lap, and how am I supposed to untangle all of these knots and figure out what I need to figure out. And some of these kids have stories far worse than my own.
Yes,
And to hear them talk and like unable to really express themselves because they might get halfway through whatever is bothering them, and then the rest of it they bawling. Right. And I get that because it's things that they've seen in their life that no youngster that age should be subjected to. But unfortunately, they are. So I'm right at the grassroots every single day, Monday through Friday, dealing with these babies, talking to them, listening to them. I'm doing more listening than talking because I need them to get whatever is going through out. Because like I spoke earlier in this interview, people our age in the households that we grew up in, we don't talk back to our mothers and fathers. Right. We just don't do it. So we don't have nobody to talk to. So I'm trying to be that liaison that they can vent to and be able to say whatever they need to say to get that off their chest. Because, I mean, you look at it nowadays with this level of suicide, and I tell people all the time, suicide has no color, it has no smell, it has no particular walk, it has no indication that suicide is about to happen. That's why it's so traumatic on the people who are left behind, because they like, why this person do this?
Yes.
You don't know. So when you see these kids walking down these hallways just in a daze and just don't know what's gonna happen from one day to the next, I'm all up in their chest trying to figure it out so that I can be that intervention to say, hey, grab this one because he ain't feeling or she ain't feeling right. It's about to go down.
Right. That's what Dante question about intervention, huh?
Intervention.
Yeah.
And I just want to commend you on the work that you do, because it is really needed in our communities. I mean, we see it every day.
Yeah.
You know, and it's a trip, you know, after doing all the time and then coming out and seeing all the chaos amongst the youngsters, all the disrespect. That's crazy. But guess what? We created that.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
now it's our job.
Absolutely.
You know, so I commend you.
Absolutely.
1 year's enterprise.
I just want to say too, man, gentrification is real too.
Yes.
You know, it's like just listening to what you said. All of what we said is like we don't have the answer. You guys have it. You guys have it. You know, they went through a peripheral psychologist and all these things to figure out what happened to the people of color's family, the disunity of it. And now they're in the communities. Like how we go in our neighborhood and you guys' neighborhood, it's gentrified.
Yeah.
So the rest of us there, man, we need somebody to come talk to them because we can't.
No.
So, you know, again, man, what Dante was saying, I commend you, man.
Thank you.
You got out, man. I'm proud of you, man. You know, you got out and you moved forward in strength. You know, I got to mention, if it's okay with you, I will mention it. You know, this young man getting ready to get married.
Yeah,
he
absolutely.
juiced.
Congratulations.
You know what I mean? Got his wifey, fiance
Absolutely.
here. Got his back. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
He called me and told me, man, say, Si, you know I'm getting ready to get married. You going to come to my wedding next month? Daddy dropped the phone. I said, okay, man, I'm gonna see if I can make that, man. You know,
Yes, sir.
That touched me because I was so positive. You found love. You like telling me, man, you want to celebrate it. Like, man, hey, man, you gonna come to my wedding? And man, I'm just saying, man, I know our walk has been hard.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So to see you sit here, man, and the work that you're doing for the schools,
Thank you.
right? It's similar to the work that we do, right?
Yes, sir.
And I'm proud of you, man.
Thank
And
you.
we need to
Thank
say that, man, to each other.
Absolutely.
Thank
You know, follow 100 Years Enterprise on Instagram, 100 Years DOP, our website, 100years.biz, YouTube, 100
Yes, sir.
Years Enterprise, hashtag 1HYE.
Okay.
We continue to grow. We striving again, Ville. We welcome you to the show. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you.
And for your journey and being able just to share, be authentic,
Thank you.
and give it to the people because it's needed.
Yes, sir.
It's very much needed, my brother.
I'm always talking at Reform and Redemption on IG. You can also reach me on Facebook at Lavell Stewart. And I'm putting a process together that's you know, following up under what y'all guidelines is and giving back and you know, just keeping this fight going because it's needed. And
Absolutely.
unfortunately, I hate that there wasn't these type of programs around when we was younger. But hopefully one person can see this, tell another, and we can reach multiple tools of people that need to be reached because It's a crisis going on out there.
I said, you know, the old way of doing things didn't work.
No, not
The
at
old
all.
way of doing things didn't work.
Not at all.
This is what's working. That's why we here.
Yeah.
You, Uncuff, everyone else doing the work what we doing.
Absolutely.
And being able to collaborate and to break that cycle of violence.
Yes, sir.
100
Yes, sir.
years in the prize. You're going to find us at YouTube and share and like and subscribe.
Absolutely.
Subscribe. Please subscribe to 100 Years. Get your apparel, hats, hoodies, T-shirts. Yeah, we got to keep it pushing, man, because we still here.
Pre-orders.
Pre-orders, man. Pre-orders. You pick what you want. You find out what you like. You let us know, and we'll order it for you.
No doubt.
Peace out. 100 Years in the prize. Thank you, Vel.
Reinvented behind the camera, behind the production.